In this lesson, we'll begin setting the reference planes for our customized casework family. So let's begin. All right, so what we have on our screen is the basic form of what we're trying to accomplish here. We have a customized piece of framework, a casework here, and it's made of wood, and it's got some steel components, and you can see it's got a lot of functions to it. We've got an entertainment center here, we've got an area for wine racks, and plenty of storage. There's a lot of rectangles and details associated with this. Now, normally the general rule of thumb when creating a customized family in Revit is you don't want to get too bogged down with the details. A lot of times if you do, it can increase the size of that family you've created, and it can actually have an effect on the performance of Revit in your project. But there are some exceptions to that rule, and in this case, I think that exception would apply to a situation where you're doing an interior architecture project, where you may have a space that you're trying to design or decorate. And that's when those details are really important, especially when communicating to the client what the space is going to look like. So this is where this course is, or in this lesson as well, is going to really come in handy. It's going to show you exactly how to create a form, but also have those details and create a nice presentation to communicate your design intent to your customers. So let's get started with the modeling. We'll begin by setting our reference planes. So I'm here in Revit in the introduction screen here. We're going to be working out of the families. So I'm simply going to go to New here. And it's very important when you're beginning working with family is to set or pick the right template. In our case, we want to work with a casework template. So here at the top, we have a couple of options: casework, wall-based, and casework. I'm going to go with the simple casework template here. And the reason for the importance of working with the template is there's already parameters set for you. It cuts out the need for going through and setting extra reference planes and parameters and relationships between what's going on in the model. Revit will automatically have these things in place for you, and all you need to do is go in and make some small adjustments, which is what we're going to do here. So you can see we've got a couple of reference planes in place here. So when I click on this one, you'll see that this one's left, and it's named down here left. And I'll click on the right one, and it's already named right, and we have a center left and right, and we also have equal distances here. So this is the basic foundation for what we're getting ready to do. And this is why it's important to choose the right template. It'll save you a ton of time. Now, we're going to make some small adjustments to fit the parameters of our project. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to increase the width of this. So since this is already set, all I really need to do in here is go in here and click on that dimension that's set and change that parameter. So we're going to go from 4 feet to 12 feet. Click enter, and adjustments made there really nicely and really easily. We're going to change our depth as well. So I'm going to click on the depth, and I'm going to change that 2 feet to 1 foot 6 inches. Perfect. And now all I'm going to do is extend my reference planes out. I always like to extend those past the extents of my model. That way later on, if I get too bogged down with reference planes and dimensions and I need to clear some things out, having them past the extents of my model makes it so much easier to grab and erase and hide anything that's extraneous. So again, I'm just going to click, and occasionally you'll have some that are pinned. Simply unpin it, click and drag it all the way out to the extents, beyond the extents of your project here. All right, so now that we have our width and depth in place, let's kind of get some of the more details of our project in place. Now with this one, I'm not too concerned with the center point. This isn't a really our design isn't too symmetric, so center point really isn't an issue, but I have some key dimensions set in place. So let's click on this center dimension, and I'm simply going to temporarily hide that element. Maybe I want to bring that back later. I'm not really sure, but I know right now it might be a little confusing if I had that. So let's start setting those dimensions. I know that I'm going to have somewhat of a stair type configuration, a stepping configuration, and the first section here needs to be 5 feet. So I'm simply going to create a reference plane, and I'm going to offset it 5 feet from our left line here, using my pick line tool and setting it to 5 feet. Once I have that in place, I'll click modify, and I'll click on the line we just created, and let's assign a name to that. It's very important when creating your families here that you're really organized, 1 with dimensions and 2 with naming your planes. It's going to make things a lot easier, and it's going to make your workflow a lot more efficient when you know exactly what you're looking at. So we'll change this one to, I know that's going to be the far right edge of my wine glass holder, so we can call that right GH for white glass holder. Just something to jog my memory when I'm looking at all these lines that I know exactly where I'm at. So I'm going to click apply, and I've got it named. and we've got it dimensioned nicely. So now we could go and add the rest of our reference planes, but looking from the top down. So we're going to have this stepping element to our design, and those steps are about a foot apiece. So really easily, we'll create reference plane. We'll switch that 0 to a 1 foot with that offset, and from this edge, we'll begin offsetting all the way till we get the end. So we'll simply click and place. So there we go. I'm not really too concerned about naming these because I know just by looking at this exactly what part of my design this is. Now the first part of this design here is actually broken up in two pieces, so we can, let's add one more reference plane here. So I'm going to go add a 3-foot reference plane because we're going to have a 3-foot section, 2 foot, and then 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, going with the 3, 2, 1 concept here. So we'll go create reference plane, 3 feet offset. Pick line, and we'll pick it off of this line. So now we're set. So I know exactly what this is. Let's go ahead and give this one a name. We can call this one the right side of the entertainment center. So we'll say right ENT. I'll know exactly what that is when I look at it. And let's add some dimensions to it real quick. So these are really good habits to have as you're creating these custom families here. It makes getting the job done a lot easier. Perfect. So now let's take the same approach to doing this from the front. We're going to be doing a lot of modeling while looking at this guy from the front. So just like in the similar to the architecture template, we're also going to have elevations while working in this template here. So we'll go to front, and we'll go ahead and start setting some of our parameters here. I know that I want this system to be about 4 feet tall, so we'll change that height there from 3 feet to 4 feet. Perfect. And I know we're going to have a stepping concept, and those steps are going to be about 6 inches high. So I can go ahead and place those reference planes as well. That way, when it comes to modeling, pretty much all we're doing is tracing. So let's go ahead and set those. So we'll create reference plane, and remember this offset will be 6 inches. So we'll go 6 inches from this level here, pick line, and there we go. We'll just simply bring all these lines up. And again, later on, anything we don't need or anything that's extraneous, we can definitely get rid of. So I'm going to click some of these over here, trying to get those to get past the extents of the model, because I know I'm going to need to adjust those later on. So that one looks like it might be pinned. We're good with that one. All right. So there we have the foundation and framework for the next step in this process. So in the next lesson, we'll actually jump into starting to model this casework with some extrusions and voids.